Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to...
Now, you just said something about one of our former presidents. Recently, another former president was telling traditional rulers to stand up, to sit down, stand up, sit down. As a traditional ruler, how did you feel, watching that video or something?
Well, to me, it's the greatest humiliation that the Yoruba race has faced. And it's unfortunate that this has come from a Yoruba elder. What shocks me the most is we've seen the former president frustrating for people on the throne who are much younger than him, probably the age of his grandchildren. So it was a shock to me. I had to watch it several times to convince myself that they weren't just joking or it was a comedy. But I then saw it wasn't a comedy. It shouldn't be tolerated. It's unfortunate that he had to go that far. Even if they were little kids and you needed to correct them, I believe that they could have been spoken to in private with a lot of dignity and respect. I thank God I wasn't there. I thank God I wasn't there because I wouldn't have stood up. I would probably have walked out of the place. And I wonder why the monarchs who were there did not do that. But they were all laughing. I assume they thought it was a joke. It didn't dawn on them until they started hearing people's comments that this was really not a good thing to have done. I hope that along the line, he will realize his error and correct their mistakes. If not, then it's a big dent on the Yoruba monarchy. And the Yoruba monarchy had existed long before several monarchies all over the world, probably one of the oldest. And we had our own system of operation, everything. In fact, government, the translation of government in Yoruba is Ijoba. Ijoba means congregation of kings. The kings were in charge. The king was the inspector general of police, was the attorney general, was the chief justice, was the president, was whatever. And somebody mentioned, let's go back to history. When was the first king in the world installed? And when was the first president installed? Then we will know which one should be revived. It doesn't mean a king would not show respect to men in authority. But this is not the way to frog jump the monarchy. I think it was a very wrong step on his part.
Okay. Now, what are the best ways for the traditional rulers to enjoy more respect? Some people are beginning to commonize them, to treat them with disrespect and disdain. As a traditional ruler, what are the best ways, that you think, the traditional rulers could be better treated, better respected, and accorded better recognition?
Okay, before colonization, these kings were the one in charge of their people. They took care of their people. They fought wars for their people. That's why they were kings. They fought wars for their people. Now, because of the advent of political authority, they've taken away all the respective powers of the monarchy in order to have some form of control. That is why today it is the governor that signs the letter of appointment for every king in Nigeria, and it is the governor that can sign a letter to fire the king. So more or less, like Abubakar Rimi said in 1982, the kings were seen as public servants. Even though, on the other hand, we know they are also spiritual heads. It is only when there are issues or big problems to tackle that people remember they need to go to the king. So I think the first thing that needs to be done is to have a clear-cut constitutional rule and position for kings. There is no reason why the monarchy, the traditional institution, would not be seen and recognized as the fourth tier of government. Because at the end of the day, if there were criminal elements in a particular community, who is in a better position to know? It is the traditional ruler. It is not the IG who is in Abuja, nor the governor who is in the state capital. It is the traditional ruler. Indeed, in my own view, there is no reason to even have a local government authority. Actually, the kings should be the local government authority. That is the second thing that needs to be done. Because then, if you say a particular local government, every local government is under the administration of a king. Different cities, different towns, and different communities. I think that if these kings are given the job and the role to monitor and manage the security-wise and all other things, it will all go well, because then they are there with the community. It's a different thing from a politician who just comes around, is not his community, he doesn't have to respond to whatever. The king will be interested in developing that. We have several state governors taking something from the old military era, and every government are getting what they call security vote. The question is that is any percentage of this security vote even coming to the traditional institution? Whereas those are the people who deal with the problem, not at the governmental level. If you really want to find a solution, they say every politics is local. The same way, the solution to every problem is local. So I think these are the things that need to be done. And luckily, unlike in the old days where they say, oh, these kings are illiterate, they don't really know anything, the kings that we have these days are enlightened, educated, and could have been president or governor if they had chosen that path.
So, Kabiyesi, what didn't you know about the traditional institution until after you had been crowned?
Well, you know, the traditional institution is quite unique. Unlike in a corporate organization, there is some form of handing over and taking over, and there's handing over notes. When President Tinubu was going to take over from Buhari, they had been going around together. They had 3 months to, relate and get some form of handing over. And he even escorted him to the Eagle Square to hand over and then to take over. Unlike that, in the traditional institution, there's no handing over. There's no taking over. One king has to go before another king will come. However, in the Yoruba setting, when you are installed as king, you go into isolation, which is what we call Ipedi. And it is during that period of isolation that you are taking through all the ways, means, tradition, customs of your people and everything you need to know. But do you know what? As much as they train you and tell you a lot of things to know, they can't tell you everything because they don't know everything. Why do I say so? Those who will be talking to you are chiefs. There's a limit to what a chief will know compared to what a king must know, because the duties are different. They can tell you a bit about the tradition and so on, but there's a level that training can only come from God Almighty. So I will say that it is God that installs king. Kings are not made on earth. It's God who makes a king, and it is God who can prepare somebody for that kingship. But that's the procedure in Yoruba land.